Hey guys, so I'm here today with my pregnancy update for weeks 24 and 25. I'm still behind. I'm currently filming this in my 28th week. I feel like I always just kind of need to tell you guys where I'm at, where I'm actually filming stuff so that things don't seem like way more behind than they are. I don't know, I probably don't need to do that. I want to address something really quickly just because I know people are going to be asking. My hands have become very, very swollen, so I am not wearing my engagement ring or any type of wedding band or anything else on my hands for that matter. It's really sad that I even need to say this, but I know people are going to be trolling in the comments and be like, oh my gosh, what's going on with you and Brock? So just know that my hands are swollen, so if you see me without my ring in a video, that's probably why. So the other thing I wanted to say quickly is if I'm looking down, I have a little sheet here of stuff that was going on in my 24th and 25th week. I'm just going to go ahead and jump into this and get this going. So there's going to be a lot of TMI in this video, just kind of putting that out there in the forefront. If you are not somebody who likes to hear about bodily things or just, I don't know, I guess unpleasant things to talk about or hear about, this probably is not the video for you. So I just kind of want to give you a warning up front before I get into stuff and then you guys get disgusted. Like I said last week, my left boob continued to leak, just like absolute mad. I don't know why, I don't know what is causing it to leak. Like some days it would leak and then others it wouldn't, so I don't really know what causes that to happen. I noticed it most when I was laying down in bed because they do recommend you lay on your left side just because you get a better blood flow and oxygen flow and a whole bunch of other things, and so does the baby, so they really recommend you lay on your left side or sleep on your left side whenever you are going to be laying or sleeping. Whenever I would lay it on my left side, if I kept my arm down, I didn't put it like up over my head while I was sleeping, the pressure from my arm onto my left boob I noticed is kind of what caused it to leak, and then when I would kind of readjust myself or like open up or do something, it would kind of fix the situation a little bit. But there have been many times that I've gotten up in the middle of the night and had to change shirts because I've, you know, drenched myself and just, oh, it's so lovely. That continued to go on and it still is continuing to go on even now, so I don't really foresee that stopping. I've gotten a lot of questions in regards to breastfeeding, and yes, I do plan to breastfeed after I give birth. I don't know how much detail you guys want, but I do plan on breastfeeding. This was the turning point. What I'm about to tell you is when we decided to change doctors. This event that I'm about to talk about is what was just kind of like, screw this, we're done, don't want to deal with it anymore, goodbye. So you guys know that I had a fluid leak, and so my fluid has been low my entire pregnancy, and I'm not entirely sure if that's just because I carry less fluid. Some women just don't have enough room to carry a bunch of fluid, or if it's because of the leak, or if it's, you know, I don't know, just some people just don't have a whole lot of fluid. They do believe that mine was more due to a leak than anything else, and my fluid levels are still low as of now, but when this particular event was happening, I was still having the fluid leak. So it was about, I don't know, 9 in the morning. I had been laying in bed for like an hour just like awake, and you know, Brock had already gone off to work and I was just kind of laying there, I don't know, checking Twitter, checking my phone. And so I got up, I made myself a smoothie, then I went to sit down at my computer just to like check my emails and do whatever I do in the morning. And I was just gonna drink my smoothie and watch some YouTube videos. So I sat down and like my chair, I don't know how to explain it. It is like one of those office chairs, and it's a swivel chair, and it kind of like bounces. Like when I sit down, it just kind of like does that little number. Just felt this like gush come out, and I was like, oh no. I was like, that is not good. I hadn't even been very active, and so I didn't know exactly why I would have had this leak, and so I was freaking out. I tried to call my mom, I tried to call my dad, I tried to call the doctor, and everybody was busy, nobody was answering me. I called the doctor, I want to say around 9:30, I don't know, it's been a little while now, but 9:30 would have been the latest that I started calling them. I called the doctor to let them know because they said if there was anything, you know, that would make me think my fluid was leaking, to give them a call immediately, because that's, you know, really time sensitive and definitely an emergency. Okay, so anyway, I called them and they didn't answer, which is normal for, you know, just a doctor's office, I guess. And I didn't really think anything of it, and so I was just waiting for a little bit. Not that they've ever been really good at getting back to me, but I figured with the urgency of the message that I left and letting them know exactly what was going on and why I was leaving the message, I figured they would call me back very quickly. An hour went by and I still hadn't heard anything, and so I was just kind of trying to take it easy. I went and laid down in the bed and I was laying on my left side. That's what I had been instructed to do if I felt like I was leaking any fluid, and so grabbed my phone again, called them again. It was maybe like an hour later. Of course, they didn't answer. And so I left a message again, didn't hear back from them for like another hour. The only time I really got up from the bed that day was to get lunch and I don't know, just, you know, get some water or something. The other thing they told me to do is if I felt like my fluid was leaking, to make sure I was getting more water than I normally do to kind of help replenish that, because that is something that is recycled. If you don't know how that works, Google it. You'll probably get a better answer than what I could give you. So anyway, got up for food, got up for water, didn't hear back from them. I took like a little nap, didn't hear back from them. Finally, my mom called and you know, she had been working and doing other stuff, and I told her what was going on, and she was like, your doctor hasn't called you back. I was like, no. I was like, you know, I checked my call history, I checked my voicemails, because I don't know why, but for some reason my phone, some certain numbers don't actually ring through and I'll just get a voicemail. I don't really understand why that happens, but it happens sometimes. So I don't actually see the call coming through, but I do see the aftermath and I do get a voicemail. Well, I checked my voicemail, I checked, you know, my call history, nothing came through. Called him again, left a message after I got off the phone with my mom. She was like really concerned at that point because, you know, obviously it's just kind of ridiculous that my doctor wasn't calling me back. So my dad ends up calling me back. I told him what was going on. He told me to call again. So by the whole time that the day was over, I called just an insane amount of times to my doctor's office with no response. So finally, it got to be like after hours. I called, and let me just put this out there. For some reason, their answering service wasn't working. I don't know if that's legit or if something was just going on in the office and they were kind of covering up for whatever was going on. I didn't have time to deal with it. So I called my perinatologist and told him what was going on, let him know that I was not able to get a hold of my doctor. I wasn't sure why. He wasn't sure why. His answering service picked up right away, so there was no issues with that. He basically said, you need to go to the emergency room. This has been going on since 9 this morning, and if you felt any other leakage throughout the day, he was like, it's possible your water has completely broken and you're going to go into labor if you don't go get checked out. And so I was freaking out. I was like, okay. Brock walks in the door from work right after I get off the phone. I'm crying. I'm thinking I'm going into labor. Absolutely just tripping. Called my dad back and he ended up finding my doctor's house phone number and he gave me that number to call. I called that. She didn't answer. What do you expect? Long story short, we ended up going to the ER. I had some testing done to check my fluid levels, to check the baby's heart rate, to make sure I wasn't having like labor contractions. They did find out I was having Braxton Hicks contractions, and that was, you know, possibly making me feel like I was going into labor. I was just like seriously freaking out this whole time. I was having Braxton Hicks contractions and I was not, they weren't in any like particular rhythmic order to make them feel like it was necessary to keep me at the hospital. They said I was probably going to be fine. They did a test to check my fluid and they said at the time that they did the test I was not currently leaking fluid. So they gave me the okay to go home. I was there for several hours. Every single thing they did testing wise was something that they could have done at the doctor's office. So now I have a huge ER bill to pay, and it's basically because my doctor didn't respond to me and just, I don't know, literally just blew me off for an entire day. Which really pisses me off because I know that the receptionist was just sitting there. There was one time I was running a little bit late for an appointment and I called the receptionist to let her know that I was going to be a few minutes late, and I got in there and of course I didn't answer. Got in there and she was like, oh, I saw you called, but I figured you would be here soon, so I just didn't answer. It just kind of makes me mad because I feel like the whole day the receptionist was probably there just like watching the phone ring and not picking up my calls. I don't know what is going on, but the communication in that office was absolutely terrible. And after this vlog, I'm not gonna rant anymore about my doctor, I swear, but this was kind of, like I said, the last straw that made us decide to switch doctors. So anyway, that was the main event for these weeks. I went to the ER because I thought I was in labor, found out that I wasn't. I was just having Braxton Hicks contractions, and I had leaked fluid earlier that morning, but at the time that I went to the ER, I was not currently like leaking fluid, so my water was not broken, but there was probably a rupture. As far as symptoms go, I again was having Braxton Hicks contractions. That was something I was not used to. They didn't really hurt. It just, my stomach would get really tight all of a sudden, and then it would just kind of like let go. I was having like mad cravings, and this is probably the worst thing I could ever be craving, but I was seriously seriously just digging Starbucks caramel frappuccinos. I was of course getting them decaf. It was like I had to get one. Like I would literally plan my day around going and getting a caramel frappuccino. It was that crazy. There was one day I was like, oh my gosh, I want one so bad, I have to go. And then I just kind of cut myself off because obviously those are terrible for you, and that is not something that you should just be downing while you're pregnant or ever. At this point, and you guys will probably notice from my videos too, I feel like right here has gotten so fat, like so swollen or fat. I don't know if it's just puffy or fat. Regardless, I feel like I'm carrying a lot of weight in the lower part of my face. Whenever I'm getting ready to film or like finding camera angles, I'm like having such a hard time finding a flattering camera angle, because if I'm shooting like too low or right at eye level, it's like, hello, just big ol' double chin. It just looks terrible. And then if I shoot too high, then I look like I have chipmunk cheeks. So I'm like trying to like strategically find a good camera angle that is somewhat flattering, because I feel like my face is absolutely enormous right now. I feel like during these few weeks, I guess I didn't gain a lot of weight, but I felt like I was gaining a lot of weight. I felt absolutely enormous. By this point, my total weight gain was 8 pounds, I believe, something like that. It was like 8 or 9 pounds. But I was feeling like I had gained like 20 pounds. Even though I hadn't really gained that much, you know, weight up until this point, it felt like so much more than it actually was. The other thing is I did start getting stretch marks on my stomach. My stomach has been so itchy, and I feel like I'm putting lotion on my stomach constantly because it's just, I don't know, it's just literally making me crazy. Like I've said in previous videos, I have them all over my hips from just, you know, growing and puberty and stuff like that. I know that my body type is one to get stretch marks, so I'm like fully prepared to like get even way more than I have right now. Thankfully, they haven't gotten too bad. I really expected them to be much worse than they are, so that's kind of a pleasant surprise, not having them nearly as bad as I expected. I do have them. It's just right around like where my belly button is. I'm not going to show you because I just don't feel comfortable showing you. I feel like it just looks gross. Right around where my belly button is, they just kind of like go up next to my belly button. They're not like all over my stomach. It's just that's kind of where they're starting. So we'll see if those continue to progress. I think that is all I have to update you guys on for these few weeks. I think so. If I forget anything, I'll make sure to list it in the description box down below, but I hope you guys enjoyed my update for the week 24 and 25 of my pregnancy. If you guys are enjoying these videos, make sure to give them a thumbs up, and I will have a new one next Wednesday, hopefully. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and spending a part of your day or night with me, and I will see you guys in my next video. I love you guys. Bye!